The program that you're about to hear contains material that may be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Right and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon, sponsored by Calm. I'm your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. The Free Beacon podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief Matthew Continetti. You may remember him from such mainstream media programs as The Larry O'Connor Show and Mac on Politics. You can follow him on Twitter at Continetti. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Liz.
Further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President and Complexifier Aaron Harrison. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office, but he signs checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
That sounds offensive, Liz.
I just learned it. I
This is
read
just
it in
mean.
a Medium post.
Now it's just getting mean.
Returning to the program today is the chairman of the Free Beacon, Michael Goldfarb, international man of mystery and licensed Republican consultant. He always keeps our panelists in line. Hello, Goldfarb.
Good morning, Liz.
Up first on Right and Writer. At this rate, it would be easier to find a Virginia Democrat who hasn't dressed in blackface. Ralph Coonman Northam is still governor, and his second-in-command, Justin Fairfax, is facing very credible sexual assault allegations from Dr. Vanessa Tyson. Because for starters, there's a date, time, and place, and he says he was there. The third in line, Attorney General Mark Herring, admitted he too wore blackface in the 1980s and dressed up as the rapper Curtis Blow. Sadly, that picture has not come out yet. Matt, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I've been in such a good mood all week.
Yeah. What's striking is a week ago, the Virginia Democrats and the National Democrats were unified in calling for Northam's resignation. By today, however, the Democrats are beginning to turn on themselves, and it's just fascinating to watch. And it's not so much Northam, it's the problem of having Justin Fairfax, who's a lieutenant governor and who would inherit the office if Northam resigned. I've said all along I don't think he will. But Fairfax is now facing this credible accusation of sexual assault from 2004. The accuser has employed Katz, who was Dr. Ford's lawyers. He's he can't deny everything because he's acknowledging something happened. He's admitting being there. So this has now put the Democrats, especially the national ones who were so quick to embrace and say that they believe Dr. Ford, who had no corroborating evidence and whom Kavanaugh said he had never even heard of until the accusation was leveled. They are now having to answer the question, do they believe Fairfax's accuser? And you're starting to see some real lines developing, including, Kamala Harris, the one of the front runners in the Democratic nomination, who's saying that she takes this very seriously and believes the accuser.
Harrison, but I guess, are they all staying?
I should certainly hope so. They have my full endorsement.
Yeah.
I want all three of them. I don't want them going anywhere because
anytime they call Trump a racist, we can be like, well, Virginia.
Well, let's also be honest here. I mean, what is the alternative? Like the most politically expeditious move for the Democratic Party is to get rid of them and replace them with some crazy liberal that doesn't have these problems in their background. That's exactly what they want. So when I juxtapose myself to that position, then therefore I want them to stay. They're all lame ducks. Like, Northam is a one-term limited governor. He is on his way out in 3 years. We know what we're getting here. This is what happens when you vote for Democrats. You vote for this collection of clans, if you will, that proceed to fight with each other and clash. And the one thing that was unifying them was their hatred of Trump. But even that is being broken apart by the man himself. And I'm going to get into this in a little bit here, maybe in our next topic. But you're starting to see the genius of Donald Trump divide the Democratic Party. He divides and defines his enemies better than anybody else on the planet.
We'll hold that up for the next topic.
Goldfarb.
It's been a stunning series of developments. The Northam thing is basically over for all intents and purposes because Fairfax has brought the Democratic Party to its knees with this scandal. Okay, he has
By force,
created
not by choice.
He has created a situation where you've got
I just got it.
Democrats all over the country, trying to keep their heads down. What are they supposed to do? They believe all women. Now you have a black woman who you have to believe double, right? Because that's like double up the victimhood pyramid, okay? But this guy, if he goes down and Northam doesn't, the Democratic Party's going to hold the black guy accountable and force him out of office and leave the white guy who put on blackface in office. That's like
kind of racist.
I mean, the party is going to explode.
Well, you look at this. Look, you got Jennifer Wexton, the new freshman white Democratic woman from Northern Virginia, holding with the accuser, saying she's sticking to the whole believe all women thing. And you've got the dean of the Democratic caucus in the United States House, Bobby Scott from Virginia,
who knows Tyson very well. Knows Dr. Tyson very well.
He's kind of saying, maybe not so much on this. I'd like to see maybe due process play here. So it's the fishes.
It is amazing because he knows the best, and I guess he's not totally lined up against Fairfax. It's interesting.
The political fallout is there will be state elections this fall. And the Republicans have a very narrow majority in the Assembly. That's a majority they won because they drew straws in that one race. And so this could hurt the Democrats there. And look, all these guys may well still be in office in 2020. And, is Virginia a swing state? Not really. It hasn't voted for a Republican in a long while. But
black turnout might be depressed.
But this might
have
effects in a presidential election where, Democrats don't want to have to defend the territory. They want to eat into Trump's territory in the upper Midwest.
Right. Okay. Up next, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has released her Green New Deal, and it's just as commie as you'd expect. The 10-year plan calls for economic transformation through the mobilization of the proletariat to build high-speed rail so good we won't even need planes. Every, quote, unwilling to work worker will be guaranteed a paid vacation, health care, adequate housing, and healthy food. But the geniuses behind the plan know their limitations and are only calling for net zero carbon emissions in 10 years rather than zero emissions because, quote, we aren't sure that we'll be able to fully get rid of farting cows and airplanes that fast. Harrison, at least they'll let us off the commune for, quote, access to nature.
Look, maybe they should work on solving the problem of getting rid of farting people on airplanes to begin with. I got to be honest. I really wouldn't mind trading air travel in the modern sense for high-speed rail at this point. I have a lot more fun on a train.
It is true.
An airplane
flying is miserable.
Is a freaking nightmare. I mean, you have this ridiculous TSA system that you show up at the airport. You got to be there 3.5 hours early. Then usually what happens is you actually do breeze through security okay, but then you're stuck sitting next to these disgusting people with their coughing and their sneezing.
Have you been on Amtrak?
I've been on Amtrak. You know what?
You would ride an Amtrak at the fastest. Sonny and I did the calculations.
Oh, you did?
At the fastest, and then there's the Japanese bullet train speed.
Yeah.
Across the continent. Take at least 8 hours.
Wait a minute.
They
At
want to
least 8
build
hours.
them over
8
the
hours
oceans,
on
right?
an
Yeah,
Amtrak.
from New York to LA with
Guess
8
what?
hours.
Who the f- are you people? Why do you only go between New York and Los Angeles? You're coastal elites. I'm not going to New York from D.C. to New York to Los Angeles, okay? I'm sick of these places. They're the worst places on the planet. Everybody who lives there hates it. Look, I'm going from if I'm going here, it's because I'm going out to real America. I'm going to Tulsa. I'm going to Kansas City. I'm going to Des Moines. I'm going to get, I'm going down to Tuscaloosa. I'm going to hit the Gulf Coast. Like, that is where my people are. I am good with that. You know what? They serve a hell of a lot of alcohol on the train. You got much bigger seats. You got much better leg room. I'm cool with this, honestly.
All right. Not what I was expecting. Harrison endorses the Green
That's
New
why
Deal.
people listen.
Yeah.
That's why people
Always
listen.
surprise you.
Because you never know what you're going to get. That's why you listen.
Wait, come on. This Green New Deal.
Any resolution that contains the word cow farts. It cannot be taken seriously. This is
I'm
absurd.
with Ben Stein, who said yesterday, like, look, I get she's pretty, but why are we listening to her? She's so dumb.
She is driving the Democratic Party off a cliff.
It's great.
Her co-pilots on the plane that she
I think
wants to
she's
outlaw are Tlaib and Omar.
I think they might be hijackers.
And Nancy Pelosi is in a ridiculous position.
Right.
She has to laugh it off. But you know what?
I appreciate your
Ocasio-Cortez is going to try to force a vote. She's going to try to get some. This is the fight that she has to. It's a true front war that Pelosi is waging, not just against Trump, but she has to deal with these crazy people.
Right.
Every single building we are going to
Upgrade
refurbish or replace.
place.
Every single structure
That
in the
sounds
United
cheap.
States of America. Oh, don't worry, because we're just going to put it on the credit card.
And there's going to be economic prosperity from this that we've
do-
never seen.
Yep, they won't
somehow.
build a wall.
I know.
Unreal.
The fact that the Democrats jumped on this so quick. I mean, look, the
Kamala
media,
Harris is tweeting out a petition yesterday when this was released. Like,
they can't
get on board.
possibly have read it, because honestly, if Kamala Harris had read it before she signed, she wouldn't have signed on to it. It was so laughable on its face. The fact that the Times covered it the way it did, which was
breathtaking.
sort of, they took it seriously.
They said it was breathtaking.
Oh, they
But
are.
within 24 hours here, all these presidential candidates are going to be getting questions. Where
Oh,
are
this
you
is
on
gonna
cow
stick
farts?
to them.
Where are you on transatlantic train travel? Where are you on the demolition of every structure in the United States of America and rebuilding it to
Well,
LEED certified
How
standards?
about providing full economic security to people who are
Unwilling to
unwilling to work? All of welfare,
Not unable.
The entire
Yeah.
basis of the welfare state is to protect people who are unable to work.
Yes.
Not unwilling. And that's communism.
This is
That's
It
saying
is.
you don't have to do anything, and we'll still give you what we're going to give you is
forget
jack.
democratic
but we'll still
socialists.
give you it.
Forget democratic socialist. This is Marxist, straight up.
But this is all This is all part of their plan to get Trump's attention. I mean, you saw this is a you saw it at the State of the Union. They all look. This collection of Democratic women. No man on the planet would normally give them more than one or two looks in a passing glance. They had to dress into this bright white light, basically that was forced on them to get the president's attention. They are so enamored with this man that they have to do the craziest
They're
stuff.
chasing after him
They have to do the craziest stuff to get his attention.
because the
And-
ladies love
Desperate.
Donald.
And you're a
you
star.
saw it. And guess what? You saw it when he gave them a little shout out. The giggling and the smiles on their face.
Hey, all of a
He
sudden, they
made
were
their day.
pro-America. They were chanting USA. It
He
was
made
crazy.
their day. They just want his attention, and that is what this is all about. And the Democratic Party, look, I'm telling you, we got a long ways to go in this primary, and they're going to get crazier and crazier because you have to stand out in a field of 35 people.
All right, up next, Elizabeth Warren is at it again, writing her race as American Indian on her state bar registration in Texas in 1986. Pocahontas was forced to again apologize not for lying about her decades of cultural appropriation, but saying she's sorry for, quote, furthering confusion on tribal sovereignty and tribal citizenship and harm that resulted. Goldfarb, it is so confusing as to why a pasty white woman would claim minority status when trying to get law professorships at Ivy League universities.
Well, I mean, have you seen the pictures of her back then? She did have kind of an exotic.
She had a look.
I'll tell you.
She had a look.
She did, with the dark hair and the
bowl cut.
and the little neck. She had sort of the prairie thing.
Yeah,
you know.
the long skirt.
I'll be honest. President Trump would stare a lot longer at her back then.
She was an
She would get
attractive
his
woman.
attention. She wouldn't have to work
was.
for it.
But she is.
I don't know about that.
She is absolutely in quicksand with this thing. I mean, Trump
It's
fucking destroyed her with the Indian thing.
it's so great.
It's, look, it didn't start with Trump, okay? In fairness, it's dogged her basically from day one of her political
Oh, yeah.
career.
I think this
It'll
is.
never go away.
I think Trump defined her that it elevated. Trump elevated the issue, but fundamentally, this is a grenade that she pulled the pin and didn't throw, and that is, she clearly believed or was saying to people for decades that she was an American Indian when she's not an American Indian.
She's
and
not.
she's just not. And now the Washington Post, and credit to the Washington Post for doing this, they found that she, on her bar registration, said that she was an American Indian. This goes to the issue of honesty and forthrightness. And I think it's just practically a death blow, if not in the primary, because as we just said, the Democrats are
in the general,
often, Pluto. I mean, I have no idea what they're thinking, but in a general, it would be devastating.
Well, this is just like, she even then she was like maybe ahead of the curve on this lefty, and so she wanted to be a minority, even if she wasn't. Like they still, I mean, if you take the Globe's reporting at face value, she never actually used it to advance her career. I don't really buy that, but like that's their position, is that she just did it because she wanted to be a minority.
Well, this whole thing reminds me of a pseudo celebrity from a couple of years past. Does the name Rachel Dolezal ring
I
a
was
bell
just
to
thinking
anybody
that.
here?
Yes.
This is Rachel Dolezal is the white woman from from Washington State who identified as a black woman, and in fact identified so well as a black woman that she became the local chapter president of the NAACP, starting this huge controversy. And this is Elizabeth Warren as well. I mean, that is where she's going. She is so doubled, she's tripled, she's quadrupled down on the fact that she is Native American, and she's now having to apologize for a document that was found 30 years ago. This has been part of her life story. She has identified. What I'm saying is that she is identified as a Native American since day one, just about. And this is the whole social democrat, the social policy of the Democratic Party today is that gender and race are now a choice.
Social
that's really where you're going. So pick one, but you got to stick with it. I don't know that you can I don't think she can start identifying as a Japanese American.
They're a choice except when they're immutable. And I mean, this is the thing about the Democrats where they're split. Because for example, Ta-Nehisi Coates was going to have a different view of race than Rachel Dolezal, right? And there are hardcore feminists who have a very different idea of gender than the trans movement. And you just see how this party is or this ideology or whatever it is beginning to set itself against itself. And, the famous line about revolutions eating their own. I mean, you can see that in the Justin Fairfax case, too. They set this standard, believe all women, and all of a sudden, it comes back to you. It's karma.
Clinical
if I can point out, what she was apologizing for was not anything she did, really.
No.
She's apologizing to the chief for confusing the public about
such a
how
BS
tribal
apology.
Citizenship and sovereignty
it's
work.
a lot like Hillary, trying to apologize for the emails and stuff. It's not a real apology.
But when do they apologize to us for thinking that, maybe citizenship should be determined by the people who are who have citizenship based on things like kinship and culture and not on blood, but we might have our own standards for how we decide what citizenship is in a sovereign tribe like America.
All right, now it's time to check in with our sponsor, Calm. Did you know that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February? Even if your 2019 got off on a rocky start, each new day brings an opportunity to start again, to establish new habits that support your happiest, healthiest self. That's why we're excited to partner with Calm, the #1 app to help you sleep, meditate, and relax. If you head to calm.com/WFB, you'll get 25% off a Calm premium subscription, which includes hundreds of hours of programs, including guided meditations on issues like anxiety, stress, and focus, including a brand new meditation each day called the Daily Calm. There's also sleep stories, which are bedtime stories for adults designed to help you relax before you doze off. Head to the lavender fields of France with Stephen Fry, or explore New Zealand with Jerome Flynn from Game of Thrones. Bob Ross is even in there too. There's soothing music, breathing exercises, gentle stretches to relax your body, and more. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/WFB. That's CALM.com/WFB. Get unlimited access to all of Calm's content today at calm.com/WFB. We are pleased to be joined once again by Dr. Leonard Pondriver, Vice President of the David Gergen Institute for Excellence in Bipartisanship. Hello, Dr. Pondriver.
Namaste.
So we've already discussed Virginia here, but we're really wondering, what is the bipartisan solution to heal this state at this time?
I've been horrified by the news, and I say that not only as a Michael Jackson fan, but as an American. It's not just a problem in Virginia. And so at the Institute, we have been just thinking and working through, looking at data on this. And so I'm going to announce, if I can, on the show, our idea for how to deal with this. We need a national conversation on race. But we also need
That's what we need.
a national conversation on gender.
And are you going to combine the two conversations?
I would like to. And, originally I thought to myself, someone like Bill Cosby would be the ideal person to sort of lead this national conversation. But
He's unavailable.
He's not available for obvious
Just moved to Gen Pop.
reasons. And so it's very difficult because we do not have a lot of centrist leadership in America right now.
We don't. We're so divided.
Well, although I am so excited.
Can I ask you, how many national conversations are you participating in at this moment, Dr. Pondriver?
That's a great question. I'd have to actually check our data. We have some researchers, and we'll get back to you after the show. But it's a lot.
I mean, you must not have much time for anything else with all the national conversations you're involved in.
We
You're
do a lot of
talking
work
all
at
the time.
at the Gergen Institute. Yeah.
And by the way, I always feel a little left out of most of these conversations. Anybody else out? Yeah. Like, when are you going to get the MAGA perspective in on some of these conversations, Doc? Am I invited to show up to the next meeting?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that because we want to be as inclusive as possible. But I've listened to some of the archives of the show, Aaron, and I have to say that I hear a lot of label talk from you, and that does not lead to solutionism, which is what we are about at the Gergen Institute. So you're going to have. I mean, we want you in that conversation, but we don't want to be having you create a problematic.
So long as I'm in the room, I just have to keep my mouth shut. Is what you're saying?
We don't want an interim fix. We want a final solution.
Yeah. I've been told that.
We also had the State of the Union, and hey, President Trump had lots of calls for bipartisanship. I'm sure you were very pleased.
There were parts of the State of the Union that made me so happy. But then we saw Trump being Trump again. With all of the interest right now, especially from young people about socialism, why say something so provocative that America will never be a socialist country?
Yeah, who's to say? Right.
Why can't we have a discussion about it? Why can't we be a little bit socialist? Why can't I meet you in the socialists halfway? I don't want to nationalize the entire economy, but certainly we should pick some sectors of the economy. We should pick some wealthy individuals.
Some of the
to
cows
confiscate
live.
some of the wealth that we can confiscate. I mean, is there a solution here?
Kind of a tryout, you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is that nobody is thinking outside of the box in a bipartisan way about the socialism issue. Right. Where it's only I'm for the socialism or I'm against the socialism. Right. You're either AOC or Donald Trump. Where's the middle ground?
We're living in the middle ground, Doc. It's called an income tax. Like that is.
You need to tell that to the young millennials that I'm seeing every day when I'm going on these college campuses and they're talking to me about the internet and Instagram and socialism, and I'm listening. Are you listening?
I do listen. But I don't give a lot of credence to the takers of society, people that don't actually contribute. Those are the young people that you're talking about, Doc. They do not have jobs. They do not pay taxes. They go to school and they read a bunch of and that poisons their mind with the social justice nonsense. And then people like you continue to give them credibility in the media, and it drives me nuts.
Wait, Aaron, you are like the #1 defender of the millennials on this show.
Is he?
Millennial defender and believe all women. That's kind of his.
Yeah,
I believe the
he
women.
He was also defending the Green New Deal.
You did just defend the Green New Deal.
Listen, certain aspects.
He contains multitudes.
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm the compromiser here. Doc, you talk about compromise. You're excluding me from the conversation, and I'm the one that's like actually working towards solutions here.
We do have a third way, and that's Howard Schultz, right?
Oh, what a wonderful! How exciting is that?
Yes,
and especially for
that's
young,
where the energy.
Well,
is.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, but my generation, we were Maxwell House all the way. But I mean, a lot of the younger people are going to this place called Starbucks. That's his company. That's where the energy is right now. He built that, and it's so
No,
it's so
he didn't
great.
build that because he, grew up in public housing.
All right, well,
we
you
all
can
paid for
take it up
that.
with him. As far as I'm concerned, he is the Mahatma Gandhi, the Winston Churchill, the Martin Luther King of bipartisanship. He is the most exciting figure on the American political
Winston
scene
Churchill, that's offensive.
since
That's, like,
Abraham
way too
Lincoln.
colonial.
Can I ask you, have you been approached by the Schultz campaign as an advisor?
I have
here it
sent
pays
them,
well.
I have sent them a number of our policy papers, and I've yet to hear back. But it's still very early days. I hope to be getting a phone call, and I will do everything we can to help him. I mean, he's terrific.
And I heard that you also had some thoughts on another 2020 contestant.
Well, I have to yes, and that is Senator Kamala Harris. And I have to say, when I first saw her, I was hearing a lot about Russia collusion. I was hearing a lot of things that I didn't like. I thought it was dividing the country. But then I realized something about where the Democrats are right now. They have to have their own debate about the police. And Kamala Harris is a voice for this pro-police constituency within the Democratic Party.
Right.
That's so exciting right now. Now, is that the majority of Democrats? We don't know. We don't know if it's the majority of Democrats. They're having the conversation. We know that AOC, she doesn't seem like she's very much in favor of the police.
Probably not.
I don't think a lot of her supporters like the police very much. So that's very interesting. But here, listen to this. How do we bipartisanize it? How do we get a 50-50 out of this? Okay, well, there's another guy, maybe you've heard of him, Donald Trump, who's also having a debate within the Republican Party about the federal police, the FBI. We don't really know where Donald Trump stands on the FBI. We know a lot of his supporters don't like the FBI very much. So this is why we need to have a national summit on police.
I like it.
And you're saying you want to explore which police we keep, or which police we get?
I
want to
have a conversation about the FBI and local police.
Bring them together.
And the only person who is credible, who's reaching across the aisle in both of those, is Kamala Harris.
You're right.
She likes the FBI and the local police. To me, that's just so exciting. She's like she is the, if you will, she's the Howard Schultz of law enforcement, and because that's the middle way right there.
Doc, when you started this rant, I thought you were chock full of nuts. Let me just be honest. But let me tell you something else. You're starting to make a lot of sense here.
Thank you, Dr. Pondriver. Please stick around for our
Will do.
culture round. Up first, a new study released by the National Academy of Sciences reveals at every age, female brains appear an average of a few years younger than their same age male counterparts. The brain of a typical 30-year-old woman appears to be 3 to 4 years younger than the brain of a 30-year-old man. And the results might explain why women often stay mentally sharp longer than men. Matt, are you worried?
Well, it's funny, as you were saying that, I was thinking that didn't make much sense to me because typically women are more advanced cognitively than men at any stage of development. And then just having a son and a daughter who's younger than you can tell that she's ahead of where he was. So that's interesting that this is actually
Our brains are superior,
less about
just in every
cognition
way.
and more about being able to survive longer.
And nag. This is like the big nagging part of the
Oh,
lobe.
that's
It's the female brain.
What?
Well, I think
The younger, that doesn't make sense.
I know the girl's smarter. It's true. It's subjectively true. She's smarter and craftier, but also meaner and more manipulative. And you can see like the woman she will be someday is starting to blossom.
Harrison.
Well, I think we saw a perfect example of this in action over the past week. Okay, and I want to take it back to what Dr. Pondriver mentioned when he was talking about Michael Jackson. You saw 2 attempts at a tribute to Michael Jackson. Number 1 was Ralph Northam, a ham-handed, insensitive, ill-thought-out attempt at a tribute to Michael Jackson. He wore blackface, and when he was apologizing for it, he thought about doing the moonwalk. Like that's just stupid. That is a primitive brain function. That is an old man function. Like nobody.
Yeah,
on
that's
their
definitely
planet.
old brain, not working very well.
Contrast for those that watch the State of the Union. The First Lady of the United States. How did she appropriately offer a tribute to Michael Jackson?
True.
She walked out with one glove, and that's how you do it. That
Did
is a
she? I
respectful.
missed that. I
That
missed
is a
this.
respectful tribute to Michael Jackson. And if that's how you want to do it without causing controversy, and so there's lessons to be learned.
I didn't
there.
realize that was a contrast with Northam. I didn't follow that.
That was
She's
it.
very subtle.
But also very savvy.
Yeah.
Listen,
I agree.
Melania Trump is awesome.
Dr. Pondriver, any Gergen Institute research on brains?
Well, and I think we'd have to study transgender brains to find the middle ground on this.
That's a good point. Up next, a robber in New Orleans did the only sensible thing you could do. When he failed to open the register at a Popeyes, he stole some chicken instead. Sadly, the police apprehended the suspect, 27-year-old Philip Lee. They set his bond at $13,500. Harrison, I knew Popeyes was expensive, but not that expensive.
Guys, hello. Why are we saying he failed? I don't think he failed. This was his objective. He wanted
he
to
was
steal
going
the
for
chicken.
the chicken.
And God bless him. Who doesn't want some Popeyes? He probably had a huge
And it
party
is
going
expensive.
on back at the crib and like invited the whole neighborhood over, and he was like, I am going to supply everybody's favorite chicken
It
chain,
sound like
Popeyes.
Pilmar.
Look, that's clearly what was going on here. I think that was the objective from the beginning, was to steal the chicken.
That bail is excessive.
Yes.
How
Isn't
much
it?
was the bail?
$13,000 for stealing chicken.
$13,500. I mean, we don't even know how much he got off with.
Yeah,
It's probably
look,
like a
gosh.
10-piece.
Look,
I
I
mean,
think
it makes me feel squishy. I feel like Van Jones's whole abolish bail thing
Yeah.
when you see something like that.
Popeyes would do better if they do not press charges against this man and then turn him into a national spokesman for the guy who wants Popeyes more than anybody else on the planet.
All right, finally, Harvard scientists have found a link between smoking weed and higher sperm count. Study results contradict all conventional knowledge on how weed affects sperm. Quartz reports the analysis of 1,100 semen samples from 662 men between 2000 and 2017 revealed those who had smoked weed at some point in their life had a mean sperm concentration of 62.7 million sperm per milliliter of ejaculate, while men who'd avoided marijuana
Getting really
entirely
into the weeds.
Really got in the
had-
weeds, Liz.
Hey, it's science. Had mean concentrations of 45.4 million sperm per milliliter. The author of the study said the findings could reflect the fact that men with higher testosterone levels are more likely to engage in risk-seeking behaviors, including smoking marijuana. Goldfarb, you have any thoughts on this?
I'm just trying to, in my head, connect together, like, well, Bill didn't inhale, but the size of the stain was substantial, and so I just, it's sort of
Yeah, what does
dissonant
that
for
mean?
me. You know, it's a very durable stain, apparently. I heard they were going to put that dress in the Smithsonian or
Yeah, I
something.
think it's still out there.
Yeah, the stain is still there. It's 20 years later, and he didn't even inhale. So
Can't make any sense of it.
I want to hear Dr. Pondriver on marijuana use and what is the Gergen Institute's position on legalize it, don't legalize it. There's also some new research saying that the risks have been underappreciated of marijuana use.
Well, anything that Harvard does, I mean, we're going to have to take a serious look at. And, generally we take a middle ground of decriminalization instead of legalize or not legalize approach. Right. But I just want to get back to this idea of bringing back things that happened in the 1990s, driving us apart. I mean, I hate to say this. You know what that blue dress, that's the Russiagate of the 90s. And I want you to think about that.
That's bizarre. Listen, I did some independent research on this because when
consult with the experts, yeah.
Well,
They
I
say.
like to look. This is part of the things that I do in my free time as I read scientific
Very
journals,
interested in this
medical
field.
journals, and so there is another study.
it's definitely
out there.
cross-sex with Harrison's free time.
Well, I learned. Okay, so with this, the marijuana affects the sperm count, right? That's what we're talking about. So it's like
Increases it, apparently.
increases the sperm count. Okay, so there's two other measures
By 20 million.
of sperm effectiveness. Okay, one of those is
What are those?
one of those is mobility, which is obviously the activeness of the sperm and how fast it can swim up there and go find those eggs. Now, the number two is a word that I had never heard before. It is called motility. And now motility is the shape of the sperm's head. And both mobility and motility can be affected by consumption of nuts. This is the latest study. It is blowing up in the scientific community and online. Okay, specifically almonds, specifically Brazil nuts. If you eat 2 handfuls of nuts every day, the motility and the mobility.
Are you
of your
being
sperm,
paid to say this?
This is
some
Wait,
company
does it help
paying
or
you to
hurt?
say where is this
helps.
coming from?
It helps.
Improves motility. So if you are
So you gotta
somebody,
smoke a lot of weed and eat a lot of Brazilian nuts.
so if you're somebody who is maybe overindulged in weed and you have too much
munchies.
sperm, but they have
he's
like
bringing it home
blockhead-
here.
Yeah, but if they have like blockhead sperm or triangular sperm, eat more nuts and it will round them out over the course of I think 2 or 3 months is what
I
affects
learned
it.
so much. Dr.
I just want
Pondriver.
to thank you for that, Aaron. I had never thought of it that way, and I wanted to ask you on behalf of the Gergen Institute, would you lead a national conversation on sperm?
I honestly, I think that I am qualified at
Finally,
this
you
point to
can
jump in there.
be
If you could
involved.
score some kind of high-paying fellowship and or guest professor lecturing,
probably get some
gig
funding
at
from the
Harvard,
NIH.
He didn't use any label talk in that scientific
It
disquisition.
was wonderful to listen to that.
But listen, this just shows that the more you put in an extracurricular study, the more improved and more educated you will be in the long run.
NIH will probably fund the Gergen Institute on this. I'm looking forward to that study. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Right and Writer. I'd like to give a special thanks to our producer, LB4, and of course, our Free Beacon guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, Michael Goldfarb, and Dr. Leonard Pondriver. Remember, find us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Just search for Free Beacon. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a positive review. Like listener Worked Well, who says, quote, I love Right and Writer and its masterful balance between social commentary and playful humor. He also said something else about The Bachelor. Until next time.